Growing up in Egypt and Kuwait gave me a strong sense, of community and resilience. I think learning is definitely what makes sure you always stay on top of the industry, right?
Every professional needs to keep learning. It applies to me, it applies to you, it applies to everybody around us. I also believe that women in particular can really uplift other women in this process of mentorship.
Finally, make sure you're also focusing on the soft skills and transferable skills. Yeah, as you said, the small changes make a big difference,
Yes.
right?
Hello from Bangalore, India. I'm your host, Pamela, and you're tuned into Transition Story. Join us as we listen into inspiring tales from our guests, glean valuable learnings, and take action to apply them to our daily lives. Have you ever felt like you're on the wrong path? Dalia, our guest today, can relate. Despite landing a marketing job in Egypt, she felt a gnawing dissatisfaction and the urge to do something different. This unwavering passion for marketing and her interest in doing something different led Dalia to make a bold move to relocate to Dubai. She did find a good job, however, in an industry which was not aligned to her career goals. This led her to keep pursuing and looking for a better opportunity, and she was able to land a senior marketing coordinator role in a software company that was well aligned to what she aspired to become one day. In that company, she honed her skills and she became an expert in her area of marketing. This led her to cement a senior marketing role in a software company where she's currently leading the Asia Pacific and Middle East Africa marketing team. Let's welcome Dalia to the show and hear her story of resilience, perseverance, and personal and professional growth. Hi, Dalia. Welcome to the show.
Hi, great to be part of today's episode. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dalia, for sparing the time in your busy schedule. First of all, Dalia, thank you so much for doing this for me. Tell us a little bit about your growing up in Egypt and the early days at Kidzania, your first organization.
So, growing up in Egypt and Kuwait gave me a strong sense, of community and resilience, both of which have shaped my professional journey. My early days in Kidzania were important because it was working in a dynamic, fast-paced environment that allowed me to focus my marketing skills, particularly in understanding how to engage younger audiences and their family. It was an experience, also that included a lot of creativity, adaptability, and the ability to craft memorable experiences.
Yeah, and you were very young at that time. How did it feel dealing with kids and their parents at such a young age, where Kidzania was into that kind of a business?
I wasn't front facing at the time, but it was a really fun role, right? Because just knowing how you're part of a journey of somewhere where it creates happiness for people, I think was rewarding experience for me.
Very nice. And you had family back in Egypt at that point when you were working with Kidzania?
Not yet. It was when I was fresh out of college, but I was living with my parents and at the time. But to be honest, like when I was there and got to be part of I was in the pre-opening part of it and all of that. And then I came to Dubai and I get to visit Kidzania from a customer point of view with my daughter when she was old enough to go there.
Yeah.
It was so rewarding getting to see all of this from the different side with your own kid.
Yeah, wow.
That was one for the win.
Yes, absolutely. I can totally relate to it. Imagine when you are working for a product company and you get to experience the same product as a consumer. It feels different. So similarly, the Kidzania experience when you went with your daughter was very similar. Now you decided to move to Dubai, and I see a lot of people like me and yourself who have worked in the peripheral countries around GCC. Moving to Dubai is a common progression. How did this move make a lot of sense back then for you? What was really inspiring you to pursue this move and come out of your comfort zone?
For many professionals in the Middle East, Dubai or the United Arab Emirates is a very natural progression due to its role in terms of business and being an innovation hub. For me personally, moving to Dubai made sense because of the city's opportunities in terms of technology and marketing. And it's aligned with what I want in terms of aspiration in working in a global and a multicultural setting, while also advancing my career in the B2B marketing space. And the region's growth potential in tech is what made it more attractive for me as well.
Yeah, of course, it's one of the fastest growing countries in the world, and UAE is the heart of the GCC family, I believe. So, a lot of us really aspire to be there and be part of this tech growth. Now, when you moved to Dubai from Egypt and it was in marketing, did you feel any sort of cultural shock or any sort of change which was very different from the industry that you experienced in Egypt and then in Dubai?
Look, the transition was both exciting and challenging in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because moving into software meant stepping into a fast paced, innovative space, which the rules of engagements are always constantly evolving. The challenges always include like a steep learning curve and understanding of complex technologies and the market's technical expectations as well. However, for me, the thrill of working in such an industry where change is also constant is what makes it incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. So you mentioned a very vital point, the technical expectations of the market that you were operating in. So given that Dubai was a very fast growing market, did you feel that the expectations were also very high, which kind of made your job much more difficult?
Of course, because the you're not just covering Dubai,
Mhm.
right? Since Dubai is a hub for a lot of other cities for global companies, you also need to understand other markets, other Gulf markets. So you always need to make sure you're technically and industry wise on top of things and on top of the changes that's happening within the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to this because I was talking to somebody who recently made a transition to Muscat from India. He was mentioning that he's observing that the market is very, very developed in terms of technology, but very, still growing or grappling with resources. So, though he has gone there as a leader, he's finding it very difficult to get a lot of people in Oman to work on the project. He's into a smart glass industry and he is finding it extremely challenging to get the right resources because the market has certain expectations, but the skill level is not at that point. So there are challenges in terms of bringing everything together and marrying them to deliver a great experience.
Yes, for
Yes,
sure.
yeah, of course. So, Dalia, tell us a little bit about how your software experience shaped you as a person. Like you were dealing with these challenges, transitioning from country A to country B, and then industry A to industry B. A lot of changes, right? So, how were you able to put all of this together and still continue to grow as a person amidst this changing and evolving landscape?
To keep growing, I need to make sure I keep time to continuously learn. I
Mm.
think learning is definitely what makes sure you always stay on top of the industry, right? So making sure I carve out time to go through courses and self study, as well as reach out to other mentors, other industry experts to gain new perspectives on things, and make sure I also be a part of events and workshops relevant to me and think tanks to keep me plugged in the emerging and different trends, and take time, some time to reflect on all of my learnings, reflect on the feedback, and see if I need to adjust my approach along the way to be more adaptable to change and more impactful to what I do next.
Absolutely. That applies to every profession. It is just not marketing. It is such a profound statement because every professional needs to keep learning. It applies to me, it applies to you, it applies to everybody around us. Now, you juggle multiple roles, right? You are in a demanding job as a marketing lead for multiple markets in your current role. And you also have to be a spouse at home and a mother. How do you balance all of this together and stay poised?
I think balance is something we all continuously try to make better. But I would say maintaining balance is just making sure I always have prioritization, right? In terms of prioritization at work and of tasks, and in terms of prioritization in home and creating boundaries. At work, I try to always make sure I'm focused on driving meaningful outcomes while streamlining any processes to stay efficient as much as possible. And at home, I make sure to have quality time, right? That always set times where we are there, we're doing something together to make sure that they also feel like they have their own special time. I think making sure we have a clear goal right? And checking in on both short-term and long-term personal growth and personal career objectives
Yes.
is always important to, continuously making sure, I'm not losing my personal focus, but also having the right support system in work and in the home is also what helps me juggle those roles.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of took away that so well. Balancing is art and science. That's what I believe. And, back when I started my career, I always used to feel that balancing is about like you do work and you go back home and then you just pay attention to family. But as my job evolved, as my role evolved, I realized it is not about work life balance. There has to be some sort of integration. It's not that I don't work on weekends if required, but I have drawn lines in such a way that if I have carved out 2 hours for finishing something important for my professional needs over the weekend, I make up for that lost time during the weekdays with my family. So
On
yeah, integrating, your family and your hobbies, your personal chores and work together. I won't say I am, I've aced it, but I think I have achieved a state where I no longer fuss or stress over the fact that, oh my God, I can't take care of the kids. I can't attend this meeting on time. I have evolved from that stage, and this work life balance was the starting point for me. And now I have attained a stage where I have somehow been able to create those coping mechanisms to create the integration well. But yeah, thank you for that answer, because it kind of is a light bulb moment for me to share my experience as well and make this a conversation. Now, Dalia, I always ask this to all my guests, and I will do this with you as well. If you could go back to your younger self and assume you were starting your career in the early 20s, let's not go back 20 years. I'm saying you could start your career in a very technologically advanced situation, where there's booming tech. How would you approach your career differently this time? Would it be still marketing? And I'll tell you why this question, because I have seen people really reflect on this question and come up with very interesting answers. For example, if I were to be born in the 20s, I would definitely not be working somewhere. I would be a startup founder, because we would have been born in an ecosystem where you are taught to build things yourself. So, how do you see yourself, going back to your younger self and coming, forward in time?
If I went back, I'd still be marketing just because I do enjoy having the ability to be creative, and I love storytelling, and in marketing you get to do both. So I would still go with the same career path. I also like the mix of, planning and being in an office for some time, but then getting to realize this and being on site during your event. So I love the mix of being, at a desk job sometimes, but then on site sometimes. So I really love that, and it is exciting. But if I was starting fresh in 2020, I think focus more on more learning at the time, especially before you have a family, you have more time on your hand, particularly in emergent technologies and data driven marketing. I'd also prioritize the importance of building a network to myself early on and finding a mentor in the tech industry to help me navigate the ever changing landscape. So embracing the adaptability, starting to have early on that growth mindset as the world continuously evolves, and the offering and the endless opportunities for innovation. So I do the same, but perhaps I'd look for a support system and a network system early on.
Oh my God, you said such profound stuff in such a short sentence, Dalia. Networking and mentorship, two very very important things, which have, there's awareness about these two things as of now. Back when I started my career 23 years back, people never emphasized on networking. There was no LinkedIn. Once LinkedIn started, I never took it so seriously as I take it now, that networking is so important. Having the right people in your ecosystem is important, because peer learning and learning through networking is much more real and much more valuable, and you never know from where you can find opportunities. And mentorship, I don't know how it was for you, and you can share a little bit about it. When I started my career, I used to feel that the manager is the mentor, default mentor. But in case you don't find a good manager, you will always miss out on a mentor. And I did not have good managers in the first few years of my career. And I big time missed on that mentorship that could have actually transformed my trajectory. And when I found one, it did really impact my career very positively. Tell us a little bit about mentorship. Did you find a mentor in your career, or that's something which is still a gap, and hence you mentioned that you will start with mentorship?
Say when I was younger, career wise, I never had a mentor. To be honest, as you said, I always thought that your manager needs to be your mentor. That wasn't the case a lot of the time for me. Given how the region is, a lot of the time I'm by myself, like in terms of trying to learn and trying to carve it out. So in my early years, I would say I never had a mentor, and it would have really impacted me positively. Um, but to say the truth, at the moment, I have two great mentors in my current work who are definitely a great support system, and I'm learning from both of them at the moment. I also started doing this for others because I realized that there's not enough people who are willing to be mentors to other people, even if they're not in the same team or company as them, just for the sake of helping others grow. And I'm so grateful I started doing this and starting supporting and being a mentor to up and coming professionals as well in the market.
Wow, that is such a novel idea. I experienced something similar in my mid career days. I was looking for support to pursue a management program, and I didn't know how to start. And I approached somebody on LinkedIn, and I was so surprised. This was back in 2014. I wrote to him on LinkedIn, and this person responded. He was pursuing the same course from the same college that I aspired to join. He invited me to the college campus, took me through the curriculum, and helped me so much to prepare, to an extent that when I cleared the written exam and I was invited for a in-person interview, he did a mock round with me to prepare me for the interview. So with that experience, I myself learned that if you find the right guidance at the right time, sometimes you get steered towards the right direction. Hence, I started offering myself on LinkedIn to people, and tell them that I am there to help if you need. And I got approached by so many people, and it's been a lovely journey in that sense that it gives me a lot of satisfaction. So I'm so glad to hear that you share the same sentiment. And I also believe that women in particular can really uplift other women in this process of mentorship. I'm not saying we should limit ourselves to just helping women. We can help all genders, but the sisterhood that we can share in terms of helping other women who really cannot find good mentors because of the gender gap or the gender bias, it's a great opportunity for us to, in our current roles where we are equipped, enabled, have the right resources to extend help, to be able to mentor people. So thank you for being that mentor to so many people. And people listening to the show, if you guys need guidance on marketing, you have the right person in front of you. Reach out to Dalia, and I'm sure she'd be glad to help if she can.
Of course, love to mentor new and upcoming superstars, the next marketing superstars in the market.
Excellent, excellent, Dalia. Dalia, we'll wrap up the conversation, but I would want to ask you one thing. If a new person, a graduate, or somebody who is doing something else today, say a software engineer, finds extreme passion in marketing but doesn't know where to start, they want to start in a software company in the marketing space, what would be your nuggets of wisdom or advice to them on how they should approach their career and make a transition into marketing?
Say start by first of all making sure you have a solid foundation of the software landscape in the market you're planning to work with, right? Knowing who are the key players, the trends in that market, how solution address the different pain points will give you an added advantage. And secondly, invest in learning about marketing technologies that marketers use, and about tools specific to the software as well, as they're crucial in the B2B marketing space. Finally, make sure you're also focusing on the soft skills and transferable skills, because they do differ on from industry as well.
Yes.
Thinking about like communication, strategic planning, which also remains valuable in any other field.
Very nice. Very nice advice. And people who heard this, you can ping Talia and ask for more suggestions if you wish to. Talia, one last question before we let you go. If you had to advise people on books that they should read for personal development, We heard some things about marketing, but you have come a long way as an individual with your self growth, your growth mindset. What would you suggest them to read? One advice on a book.
Say a book, not marketing related, but definitely valuable to anyone, is Atomic Habits. I really love this book because it breaks down how small and everyday changes can make a huge difference over time. And it's very practical, easy to apply, and I find it inspiring to help build better habits, whether in work or in life, in your personal life.
So there you go, guys. Atomic Habits is the book from Dalia that she suggests. Let's all go and read it. I have read it, Dalia, and you so rightly said small changes can bring profound habits. I was suffering from a lot of fatigue at the end of the day. After this book, I decided to address it through some small habit. Water became that habit, drinking water every hour so that I stay hydrated through the day. It's a very small change in my schedule, but has had a profound impact in my overall well being. So I love that book, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you again. And yeah, as you said, the small changes make a big difference,
Yes.
right? Making sure after, if you have back-to-back meetings, that maybe instead of having 30-minute meeting, think about 25 meetings if you have a hectic schedule, so you can have 5 minutes to stretch, walk around, and you will see over time that this will benefit you on the long run.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure talking to you, Dalia. It was a pleasure hosting you. You are a lovely human being, and I'm so glad to know you as a friend, as a colleague. And I look forward to welcoming you back on the show at some point in person. And thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Pamela. It's always a pleasure to be part of such a great podcast and with such an amazing podcast leader. You're a kick-ass, strong woman that I think a lot of professionals aspire to be like you one day. So thank you again for having me, and
Thank
see you
you.
in person.
Thank you. Bye bye, Dalia.
Bye.